Oh, here we are. We've got Lawrence just joined us. I'll start again. Sorry about that.
There you go, he's there now.
All right, you are there. For attendees in the chamber, if you wish to ask a question or make a comment when invited, please press your microphone, which will turn green. I'll invite you to speak one at a time. Please wait until your microphone has turned red before beginning. Every effort is made to ensure the questions and comments are asked in order of a hand being raised, but we ask that you recognise it gets a bit complicated when monitoring online and hybrid and in-person attendees. If for any reason a member of the committee is caused to leave the meeting, they must indicate this to the chair before leaving. Case law is clear, you're not allowed to vote if you've not heard the full debate. If your screen freezes but you've heard the whole debate, you may use your discretion as to whether or not to vote. However, if you didn't hear the whole debate, then you cannot vote. So I think it's 4 o'clock now, so we'll make a start. Could I please ask all officers and guests who are joining remotely to turn off their cameras so that only councillors, lay members or co-opted members are on screen. You're asked to turn on your camera when presenting reports or responding to questions, but please turn them back off after your item is finished. Could Democratic Services start the recording? Thanks. Brynhawn, well, hello and welcome to the Merthyr Tydfil County Borough Council's Learning and LGES Committee on the 7th of April 2025. Please note that this meeting may be recorded and broadcast via the authority's internet site. The images and sound recording may also be used for training purposes. So the first item on the agenda is apologies for absence. Just Lisa Mitten
And Karen Lewis.
and Karen Lewis.
Hannah O'Neill.
Oh, and Hannah O'Neill. Are there any declarations of interest? No, there are no declarations of interest. So next item 3 is English as an additional language. The Cabinet Member for Education, Gareth Lewis, will outline this report.
Yes, thank you, Chair, and good afternoon, everyone. Migration into Merthyr Tydfil, particularly driven during the Industrial Revolution, played a significant role in the shaping of the county borough's demographics and culture, and this influence is still felt here today. More recently, the early part of this century saw the enlargement of the European Union, and with that brought people from countries such as Poland, which has further diversified the area and has contributed to our modern history. The most recent census shows that 5.6% of the population of Merthyr Tydfil were born outside of the UK, and that 4.1% have a non-UK identity. This diversity is reflected in our schools, and as of November of last year, 951 pupils of statutory school age were learning English as an additional language, representing 12% of the total school enrolment, and a wide variety of languages are spoken by our children, including languages such as Afrikaans, Tamil, Polish and Swahili. The EAL, English as a Foreign Language Base, was established in 2019 with the aim of supporting groups of children at the same point in their language acquisition journey, and is currently located at Goitra Primary School. The base is a nurturing environment where pupils with little or no English can come together with their peers from other local authority schools and receive accelerated English language support to allow them to access learning in the mainstream classroom. Sessions take place over 3 days per week, with pupils being transported to the base from their home schools. The end of Key Stage 4 outcome data for EAL pupils compared to non-EAL pupils for the last 2 academic years is shown in 4.6 of the report, and the increased number of EAL pupils is shown in the table at 5.1. It's important that EAL pupils are regularly assessed for English language need and given appropriate support through this process. More bespoke training for school staff will be provided next year, and this will help meet our ambition to improve outcomes for ethnic minority pupils and those with EAL needs, and build capacity within schools to enable staff to further support pupils with English as an additional language. The recommendations are outlined in sections 2 of the report, and they are at 2.1, the content of the report is discussed and noted, and at 2.2, members consider if there are any other aspects of attendance they wish to scrutinise. Apologies, that's actually partnership working, I'm on the wrong report. Let's go back. There we are. 2.1, the content of the report is noted and discussed. Members consider if there are any aspects of AEL they wish to consider further. Thank you, Chair.
Thanks, Gareth. Are there any questions? Michelle?
Thank you. Just a quick question in regards to the base in Goitra. How many children are actually in the base? Because obviously there's 950 odd children that need additional support, but obviously we couldn't cater for that in one kind of unit. So I was just wondering, how many do we have in Goitra?
So not all 951 pupils require support. We support the lowest children, so the ones that are at the beginning of their language acquisition journeys, the ones who are new to English or are just beginning to acquire language. The base in Goitra is for those pupils who are really struggling to learn the language in any way, shape or form. At the moment we take about 7 or 8 a day over 3 days, so it's 21 at the moment, but we are looking to extend that, so it is very targeted support at the moment.
Okay, thank you.
Paul Phillips?
Thank you, Chair. Suzanne, is it? Hi, Suzanne. I've got similar questions, and forgive me, it's my lack of understanding of how this operates. In reading the report, it seemed to suggest that a significant number of these 951 pupils then go to Goitra, but you're now telling us that it's 7 to 8 per day over 3 days of the week only?
No, it's 951 pupils across the whole of the
Who
county
need English
borough.
as a second language, yes.
Yes, that's right. The pupils that we take into Goitra are those that require intensive English support to get them started on their learning journey, so that they can access English in the classroom.
So that's moving, obviously, but how many at the moment then are utilising that service at Goitra?
There'll be 21 at the moment in Goitra. However, my team of learning support assistants go out into schools. So I have 4 learning support assistants who are permanently based in schools 5 days a week, delivering support to the rest of the children across Merthyr who require that English language input.
Okay. At 3.4, it splits this into the numbers who are in faith schools. 41% are in faith schools. Is the treatment of those children any different? Do they access Goitra, for example?
Yes, we do have some children from faith schools accessing the provision at Goitra. But again, they are handpicked according to their position in terms of their learning journey. I do have a member of staff who works almost entirely in faith schools. As you can see, the concentration of language need is it predominantly in our faith schools, so they get a heavy level of support in terms of their language.
And so what is that level? How many people are actually employed then providing support for English as a second language?
So I have 1 full-time LSA who works 5 days a week in one of the schools, and I have 2 part-time LSAs who work part of the week on a peripatetic basis in the other faith schools.
And yet there are listed 41 languages. Presumably they're not fluent in all 41.
The teaching staff that we employ are not proficient. They don't have to be proficient in another language. They have to be proficient in English and know how to deliver English. I do have 2 Polish members of staff who are on hand to help with first language needs there. But the staff that I have on my team are all completely trained to deliver English rather than a foreign language.
Sorry, I misunderstood. Therefore, I'd assumed that what they were teaching was English as a second language first, and then getting them ready then to go back then into the schools from which they originated from. That's not the case?
No, they are receiving English language support so that they can access the curriculum when they go into the classroom.
Okay. If I can go on from there, at 3.8, you've kindly mentioned then that there are categories A to E, E being fluent. Are you able to give us a breakdown of how many are in each category, especially in view of what you just said? And are you able to provide us with a descriptor for what those categories are? Presumably E being, well, they can speak as equally as well in English as they can in their first language?
I don't have those figures with me now, but I can provide them if you need to see those.
If you could, please, because later on then, you go on then at 4.6 then to give us a table. That table seems to suggest that the children who are listed as EAL are doing better in all but one category than children who are non-EAL. Is that correct?
That information isn't mine, it's Emma's.
Yeah, that comes from the data team. Sue, do you want to touch on that at all?
Yes, it's very cohort specific, Paul. You might have had. We've got 2 years where they are appearing to do better. A lot of those children, there are the numbers as well. There will be fewer EAL children than there will be non-EAL children, so that affects it. But yeah, it does. I looked at that and thought, oh, they are. Apart from where you look at the skills challenge certificate, which is actually utilising their skills across the curriculum. That's where they're that's where they don't do as well. So in their sort of basic skills, their numeracy, literacy, and science, they do seem to do particularly better than our non-EAL. But it will depend on numbers. So I think what we need to do is put that into context for you and actually put some numbers against it, and actually possibly put against, as Suzanne mentioned, the A to E, how many of those are at E, as in that they are fluent, and how many of them are at the other levels.
I would certainly suggest that the indication from 4.6 seems to suggest that, which then makes a question arising later when we're talking about then where we want to be next then, which is that we want to further develop EAL. Now, I fully understand the need to assimilate these children into classes as quickly as we can, and nobody wants to denude from what we are doing at this moment in time. But if 4.6 is correct, then these children are flying in comparison then to the non-EAL. So I don't see what more we could do then to provide assistance. And the question that comes from that is, why? Is it that, and I'm beginning to get the answer, it's not because there's a higher ratio of teaching staff to the pupils, based on what Suzanne's just mentioned. Is it something else? And as I'll declare an interest in terms of, as a godparent of children then from India, Poland, and also Angola, I know often it's culture, but why do you think the children who are EAL are doing better? And is it something that we can latch on to help our native children?
I don't. This has been recorded, so I probably won't say what I actually think, Paul. But I think we do need to look at it, and I think what you've just said, and you see it, don't you? When we see the results across at GCSE level, that there are certain cultures that value education more than perhaps our sort of native speakers, which is a sad indictment of where we are at the moment. But I think for me, we need to unpick that a little bit further. Where are they going? What culture are they from? How long have they been with us? Because if take it, but I take on board what you're saying, because actually when we look into improve the outcomes for EAL, well, you look at that and you say, well, actually, we actually need to improve the outcomes for our non-EAL, as well as continue to improve the outcomes for EAL.
It's this issue of the breakdown, because I think Michelle and I, we both then were confused because there seemed to be 951 children being supported, but evidently it's not 951 being supported. It's a number, and it's a subsection of that, which is where that category A to E in the breakdown might help us. Because to be honest, I read this report and I thought that in Merthyr we are flying. But thank you. End of my questions for now. I'll give way.
Thanks. Lawrence has got his hand up next, I think. Lawrence?
Okay, thank you, Chair. Yes, building up on what Paul and Michelle are asking, as regards the base and the support for these children, I'm just wondering, as you say, numbers are going up. Are you able to cope with the additional numbers that are requiring this extra support of EAL?
Yes, we are at the moment. The grant funding just about covers my staffing costs.
Yeah, because as I say, I'm aware that there are quite a few across the borough, and as I say, so okay, then so schools will be comfortable that they're having the support that they need then.
Yes, I feel so.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you, Chair.
Councillor Claire Jones.
Thank you, Chair. I've got a couple of questions, and I don't know whether they've been answered because in my mind, they haven't. So, you're saying there's 21 children in total. Is there only 21 children that are category A? Or are there more and you haven't got the capabilities of dealing with the rest of the children? So that's my first question.
Okay, so I think it's important to understand the difference between the EAL-based provision and the provision that goes out into schools to support children generally who are in school. So the support that we put into school is peripatetic. So I have a team of LSAs who go into schools and support children on a targeted basis. The EAL base that you've mentioned with 21 children is intensive English support. So they are the 21 children at the moment who require the most input. We can best cope with that by bringing them together into one place and giving them intensive English at the same level.
So there are only 21 children that need the intense?
At the moment, yes.
That was my next question, was going to be, if there's more than 21 children, what is actually the criteria, and do you do it on a rotation basis? Because that, 21 is still a lot to me.
We do it on a rotation basis. The intention is never that a child takes root in the EAL base. The intention is that they get that short, sharp burst of English language to a point where they can access what the teacher is saying in the classroom, and then we look at provision and look at need with other children. So there's always quite a turnover in the base. So, children move on a termly basis really in the base.
Okay, so that leads on to my next question. So the 21 individuals, they go to Goitra and they go to another school, yeah? So within that other school, how are they integrated into the class? How are the children with them? Because obviously if there's a language barrier and you were deeming them that they have got that much of a barrier that they've got to be going to a different facility, are they subject to bullying? Are they segregating themselves because nobody understands them? Are they? Yeah, I'm a bit. I don't understand that part as well, please.
Okay, so schools have all received training in how to integrate new arrivals into the classroom. We constantly update that training so that teachers, as they move around, they get that training on a regular basis. I've not come across a situation where children are ostracised because they can't understand. Generally, the ones that come to the base are quite young, and they are picking up the language at a pace. They do tend to slot in quite well in the classroom. We also put support, my LSAs also pick up those children in schools as well, so they get it's a bit of a double dose really of English. So they get intensive English in the base, and then they also get support in school. So they're not left on their own in the classroom, if that helps.
No, it doesn't. You've just answered my third question as well. So thank you ever so much, and thank you, Chair.
I've got one question to ask is, what's the attendance like for these EAL pupils now? I think at one time it was quite poor because they used to go on holiday when they had national holidays in the home countries. So is the attendance still poor generally?
Attendance isn't really my issue, but going on the attendance registers that we keep when we support children, attendance with EAL pupils does tend to be quite good. We do have children who go back and forth for, as you say, lengthy spells, but they are quite small numbers. But generally, their attendance is quite good.
Oh, thanks for that. So, David Isaac. Councillor Isaac, have you got a question?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. You touched on my question, answering it a couple of minutes ago. I was wondering, what is the age of the pupils going to Goitra? If it's a vast age range, will the building be able to cope with age appropriate facilities? That's my first question.
So at the moment, the children who access the base are all primary age. The setting that we've got is very well set up for primary children. We've got a distinct area of Goitra, so we are, although we're in the school, we are separate from the school. But we get to enjoy all the grounds and the feeling of being in a school as well. So it works really well for our children. Goitra's children too, because our children integrate really well at playtimes and things like that. So as it stands, it's just primary age. We have in the past taken in groups of secondary pupils. We are in the process of putting another secondary group in place, but that's taking a little bit of time. So hopefully in the summer term, we'll be able to set that up as well. The base is very well equipped and laid out to take the full range of ages.
Okay, thank you. And you touched on the comprehensive school. In the past, the practice in some of our faith schools would be having, and shows how far I go back, the sixth form pupils actually helping with the pupils with their reading and learning. Is this still a practice in the faith bill, especially the faith-based high school?
I'm not aware that that's a practice. It's not something schools have shared with me, so I really don't know if that goes on.
As I said,
I think
sorry.
it varies. It varies from school to school, and it wouldn't necessarily be with supporting with specifically with EAL. There are a number, a couple of our high schools will do that sort of mentoring of the older children with the younger children. Obviously, we haven't got the sixth form, sixth form as you alluded to, Councillor Isaac. But yeah, they will do the mentoring with the younger children for various aspects of the curriculum.
Okay, thanks very much.
Oh, Jeff Beard.
Thank you, Chair. I just need to understand, please, if you wouldn't mind. You said 21 days is the intensive section. So how much time is then given to the children after that period of time to become fluent? How much, on average, do we spend with these children to help them understand English to the level they can learn effectively?
So it's 21 pupils, not 21 days.
Sorry?
Yeah.
Okay, so 21 pupils, how long do they get with that intensive section then?
It depends very much on the pupil. So they all move and learn language at different paces. So if a child still requires intensive English after, say, a term, then we will keep them on until the point where they reach a level where they can access what the teacher is doing comfortably in a classroom. So that could be a term, it could be longer. But it can take up to 10 years for children to reach fluency. So it's a marathon rather than a sprint.
No, that was my second part of my question. Yeah, how long does it take? But fine, thank you for that. And you alluded to the number of 900 children in the section, in the area. And where are we with those children? How many are up to the fluency standard? And how many are in the move up to that standard?
So going back to the councillor's previous question, I've managed to find my data. So at the moment in Merthyr we have 373 pupils who are fluent in English.
Thank you. So that leaves 600 odd that are in the process, yeah?
Would you like the breakdown?
Yeah, would you mind?
Yeah, that's no problem. So this is the full age range from nursery up to year 11. I've got 49 who are at level A, which is new to English. I've got 191 at level B, and level B children are developing some kind of competency in the language, so they develop in English. Level C then is developing that competency a little bit further, and there are 165 of those. Level D, we have 132. And then the fluents are 373.
Thank you for that breakdown. Thank you.
Oh, Michelle?
Yeah, just a question based on your data. So in level A, how many pupils did you say there was, sorry? 49.
49.
So shouldn't we be, we've only got 21 in the base. So shouldn't we have more pupils
All
being
of the
supported?
49 children who are at level A receive support from us, whether that be in the base or in school.
Ah, okay, I understand. Thank you so much. Thank you.
If there's no more questions, are there any comments? Paul?
If I can, I have to say that the information you've given us, Suzanne, then changes completely then the complexion of the report. The report then highlights 951 children, and as I say, at 4.6, it then goes on to say then how well that they are doing. So it's the 49 at the moment. I know that it's a moving feast all the time. In category A, that we are really concentrating on, although support is given to B and C, no doubt. How do we actually measure success then in terms of how those children are doing? Is there a tracking system in place? And at what point do you then say, at a given point in time, they should be able then to move on to, let's say, level B, level C, or whatever? Can you tell us then what that success measurement is, please?
So we use what we call the Welsh Government's 5-stage model, and the 5-stage model is split into 5 stages, A to E. 3 times a year, so every term, we gather data in from schools. So schools are responsible for monitoring the progress of those children. And we would gather that information from them 3 times a year. We use that data to ask pertinent questions of schools regarding each of their pupils. So if a pupil is moving slowly, then we ask the questions and put some support in if it's needed. Similarly, if they're moving too fast, we ask questions, you know, we praise them up or ask questions. Are you sure this data is correct? So there are checks and balances in place to make sure that the pupils are moving on and making progress. I can't say at what point pupils should be at a certain point on the 5-stage model, because children move at different paces in terms of their language acquisition. And as I touched on earlier, it can take 10 years for those children to reach a level of fluency in the language. So some move really quickly, some slow down.
Well, that's understood. As I said earlier, I've got family friends who are from all over the world then, so I understand that as an issue. But how can you actually say at the moment that we're doing a good job?
So when the data comes in every term, we sit down, we analyse the figures and compare it against last terms and the similar position last year. So we can see exactly where we are in terms of the progress our children are making, whether it's good. If it's good, that's brilliant. If it's slowing down, then we can step in and help schools out.
Okay, so we're a scrutiny committee and we're examining the performance then of the authority then against then the Welsh Government then 5-point stages, but we haven't been provided with any data. Presumably there is a comparative data then between authorities that we'll be able to access. So
not between authorities, I'm afraid. We can look at our own data, but we can't
So how
compare
do
it
you
with
know
authorities.
that this authority then is doing as good as, let's say, a neighbouring authority?
We don't compare neighbouring authorities. We're not allowed to do that as far as I know.
So we don't know whether we're good or bad or indifferent at this moment in time.
We can compare ourselves with ourselves. So progress data at an individual pupil level obviously is key to this with the schools, but in line with a number of other areas, we don't have a family of local authority data or other data that we can necessarily compare with. It has been raised, I think, at a national level about comparative data, but Welsh Government haven't made that decision.
Okay, because that changes the complexion of the report. As I say, I read this report and I was really pleased to see the progress that all 951 were making, because at GCSE level they seem to be flying. So if I can go back then to the point that was raised as well, then later on at 6.1, it says where we want to be, and we just talked about then there's a lack of provision for secondary age children, and I know that children are moving into the area then in a secondary school age. There's no mention of us making a provision then for them in the future. Why is that? Is that something that was just an omission in the report, or is it something that you've actually got documentation for, which shows that this is something that you're working towards in the future?
So the same position applies to secondary pupils. If there are secondary pupils who are at levels A and B who require that input, then we will put it in place. And we do have support in place in our high schools for those pupils.
I'm sorry, I misunderstood that, because we were talking earlier then about what GOITRA were providing then, and I naturally assumed that for those who are at level A, nearly all would be going then into GOITRA. So could you then clarify that? If we have a family moving into the area then where they have children secondary age and that they're at level A, what provision is in place, please?
So at the moment, because they're in secondary school and we don't run a session for secondary pupils yet in GOITRA in the base, the support those pupils would receive would be in school. So I would put a member of my team in school to work with those pupils.
Okay, but we are assured that they will be provided with...
Absolutely.
Thank you. Thank you.
Oh, Councillor Claire Jones.
Thank you ever so much. I think we've all got a lot of information going around in our head at the moment, and one comment that I'm going to say is I'd like this to come back as well, that we be able to have the data put forward to us so then we could properly scrutinise, because I feel that as much as we've read the report, we've all got quite a lot of questions, because you just wanted to make a comment and you it goes into questions. That's a positive, Paul, by the way. So I feel that, firstly, I'd like to thank you for bringing the report forward. I'm very appreciative, and perhaps in my ignorance, I never thought about it. But secondly, can we bring it back again so we could have the further data, so we could perhaps compare it and see how everyone's going? But thank you ever so much, and thank you, Chair.
Oh, are there any other comments? No.
I've just got one, if I may. For future, it might help then officers who come in here who don't know us if we introduce ourselves. Suzanne, I'm not a councillor. I'm a lay member of this, just for you to know. I won't want you to be embarrassed and think that I've got any extra powers. But I'm just inquisitive, that's all. Thank you.
It's a good point, that. Anecdotally, I see quite a few these young children, and I'm amazed how well they can speak English, even though they've only been here a year or two, you know. I speak to loads of them. They certainly speak a lot better than the parents usually. So, so there are no other comments then. What the recommendations are that we just review the report, which we've done really. So if we move on to the next item,
Clive, Chair, if I may, we have asked for more data, and I agree that we ought to really then ask for this data then to come back into us, whether it's outside of the scope then of the meeting cycle then. But I really would like to see that data myself. I think you do, Claire?
I'll ask for some of the data. We'll have a discussion and we'll ask for some of the data we'll get, that you've asked for. We give it to the committee, and then committee can decide if they want for next in the forward work plan for next year to bring this back, or if the data that you've had is enough then to answer your questions that you've got.
Thank
Is
you,
that
sir.
okay?
Item on the agenda is to do with partnerships. The Cabinet Member for Education, Gareth Lewis, is going to outline this paper.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Hello again. This report provides committee members with an update on the range of partners the Education Department engages with to support the delivery of statutory work. And these partners include the Education Partnership Panel, Community Focused Schools, Business and Education Together Partnership, and the Welsh in Education Forum. Details of each partnership is outlined in section 3 of the report, and additional information can be found in appendices 1, 2 and 3. These collaborative frameworks underline the importance of partnership work in here in Merthyr Tydfil, ensuring that education and learning are at the heart of activity across the county borough, installing a lifelong approach to learning. There are good case studies highlighted in each appendix. For example, Community Focused Schools targeted the youth service to establish support for the transition of Year 6 pupils from primary to secondary school, and the Parent and Child Together project implemented under the Community Focused Schools model in the South Cluster, which aims to enhance family engagement and multi-agency collaboration. Whilst through strategic partnerships and a shared vision, the Business and Education Together partnership has provided young people with the tools and experiences they need to succeed in the workplace. And the Welsh in Education Forum shows effective partnership working across multiple sectors, and this is essential in overcoming existing challenges and further expanding Welsh medium education and Welsh language opportunities. We want to have a strong, collaborative learning environment in Merthyr Tydfil, and to ensure this, we need to have effective partnership that focuses on raising standards, reducing attainment gaps, and improving student well-being. The recommendations are outlined on section 2 of the report. At 2.1, the content of this report is discussed and noted. There is an error at 2.2, which should read, and apologies for this, it should read, members consider if there are other aspects of partnership working, not attendance, they wish to scrutinise. So it looks like you spotted that, Paul. Everyone did. Oh, well done, everyone. So yeah, thank you, Chair.
Are there any questions? Natalie Jones.
Thank you. Can I just say apologies that I couldn't make it for 4 o'clock, but obviously I'm here now. I just wanted to ask Sue, which of these, we've got the partnerships included, so we've got the 4 listed in point 1 of the report. Which of these are fully under control of the Education Directorate?
In what, right, so the Education Partnership Panel is a corporate panel which is actually chaired by an external person, but it was set up to monitor the role of the RAS, so it is monitoring the impact of the work that the Education Department does. Community Focused Schools is within the department, the team sit under me. Business and Education Together Partnership is within our department, as in sits under Andrea as head of service, although there is obviously a close link with regeneration, and that team with the employment aspect of it. But it does sit in our department, and the Welsh and Education Forum, I chair that. So although those are all multi-agency, they are education-focused panels.
Okay, thank you. I was just wondering because I wasn't sure what was external, what was internal. Obviously, with scrutinising education, I think a bit of clarity. Yeah, I got the clarity. Thank you.
I think Lawrence had his hand up next.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Regarding the Business Education Together partnership, are there any job opportunities being committed by those business who are involved in that partnership at all?
The aspect that we actually look at is obviously it's based on the careers, and I'm going to get this wrong, the careers and education work related, the aspect of the curriculum. So that's what we're looking at with the Business and Education Together partnership. However, if you take it to the next step and you actually look at the regeneration work, so these children are coming through, they're exposed to the world of work, they're exposed to businesses, they have that opportunity to go on to work experience or to actually go on to apprenticeships. So I wouldn't be able to highlight whether there are any at the moment, but there's certainly exposure, and the young people have a wider understanding of, are they going on to do A-levels, are they going on to do vocational, or what sort of aspect of employment and training they may want to take in the future.
I understand. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Oh, yes, Jeff Beard has got his hand up next.
Thank you, Chair. In Appendix Appendix 1, it mentions about working with Penydre High School Wellbeing Team to enhance Year 7 transition arrangements. So how is this improving the transition? And if it is improving it significantly, can this be replicated across the borough?
So the partnership last year with Penydre was a pilot. So we planned the pilot around the criteria of Inspire to Achieve, which is the most vulnerable pupils in the school, so transitioning from year 6 to year 7. So that was targeted around certain families. So Inspire to Achieve supported the children. We supported the adults in the family because we know the parents need support around transition as well as pupils. For this year, that is now being moved into other secondary schools. So that's being moved into Cyfarthfa and Avontaff. We met with Inspire to Achieve manager last week to put the plans in place. And my officers in the north are going to be supporting the officers in the mid and the south to make sure that the transition is supported as well as possible and that the processes are followed, because it was a success last year.
Thank you for that. Obviously, transition is very, very important. We know, Sue knows my feelings on it. Okay, so if we go to 6.0 on the report, please, in general, how far are we from being where we want to be? And what's the sort of timeline? What evidence can you show to support the statement at 6.0?
It's, we've stated there that we want a strong collaborative learning environment in Merthyr. What I'd say we've got at the moment is a collaborative learning environment. It's not as strong as I would like it to be. I think there's still a feeling of some sort of silo working and not actually realising that the work that each partner brings something to the table. You don't have to duplicate what that partner does. You can actually support and enhance what they're doing. So I think we're on a journey. It's certainly stronger than where it was when we started to develop the RAS. The vision of the RAS. Is it where I would want it to be yet? No. But it's stronger, but it's not as strong. So we've got a collaborative learning environment, but we still need to develop work with partners. There's a lot of work that we're undertaking with health at the moment, because health have got certain things you'll have read in the press. Merthyr's got the highest childhood obesity rates, the highest dental caries rates. They don't take up the vaccinations. Well, Lisa's team have done a lot of work on the vaccinations, and actually We've now got a higher rate of children being vaccinated. It's how we can get the dental services into schools, because if the parents can't get the children to the dentist, they're not doing. So it's how we engage with these wider partners. We are better at engaging with our internal partners within the council. Still not there with some service areas, but we are better. But we need to get those wider partners, and that, I would say, that's the same for all of them. For not just community focused schools, it's the same for the Welsh and Education Forum, and the same for the Business and Education Together. We're all want the best for our own our area, don't we? We don't tend to see how other people can support us in getting there. Yeah.
Yeah, just to point out, under the collaborative learning environment, so community focused schools and the BETP have both got directories. So the directories have been developed over time. I know the community focused schools directory is about 12 pages long now. So we've mapped right across Merthyr. So it was originally north in regards to the pilot. Now that directory maps across Merthyr and wider, because I think previously where we were looking at what Merthyr organisations could provide for learning and for our families, we realised there's organisations outside the local authority that want to work with us. So we've had a strong emphasis in our teams and other teams about looking at what partners are available, how they can support it, and look at, so if there's certain partners that can come in the local authority, we share that with other departments as well, such as children's services for our team around the family, etc. So we are doing lots and lots of work around collaboration with partners to make sure that our collaborative learning environment is the best it can be.
Okay, fine, thank you. And at 7.1.6, Chair, it's talking about successful partnerships and moving on from what you've just said. So how do you measure that success? And can we see some evidence of that?
That's why it's under what we need to do next, Jeff. It's something that we've had a lot of conversations with Cardiff Met as to how we measure the impact of the community focused schools work. Now, if you actually look at some of the activities, and Lawrence is on the screen, some of his schools have been involved in BTP and some of the entrepreneurial stuff. So you talk to the children and there's that wonderful, yes, we've had a fantastic time. But what, if you looked at one of the other, 6.5, it says partnerships focus on raising standards, reducing attainment gaps and improving student well-being. So yes, it's great to have a fabulous experience, but how is that then impacting on attainment or on aspiration for the children and young people? It's a very interesting one that we need to sit down and actually have a look at to make sure that we're not just evaluating a good day had by all, but what's the information. But that's why it's under what we need to do next.
Fine, thank you very much. Thanks, Chair.
Are there any other questions? Or any comments? Oh, Natalie?
I'd like to come in before Sue and Lisa leave, just in case you go, before we move on to the next agenda point, and just acknowledge the Community Focused Schools Conference that I attended last month. And I just wanted to say thank you to Sue and to Lisa and to the wider team, well, and to the other Leanne and the other Lisa as well, for the fantastic work. Obviously, we've reviewed CFS at Scrutiny. We see it in day-to-day lives within the school environment, but it gave me a different viewpoint, a different angle that I wasn't aware of until I went to the conference. So thank you ever so much for that. It was just exceptional. In fact, when I think about it now, I feel a bit emotional because I had a few tears in the session. Not just me, even though I'm an emotional person. There were quite a few of us in the audience, so to speak, that were really quite emotional. It was fantastic. The speakers were exceptional, and it really highlighted the fantastic work that the CFS team do at connecting with and engaging with the communities and the school community. And obviously it was the North Cluster that has been running with it for a while. I know that the two clusters are heading that way, but it was really exceptional. So thank you very much. The only kind of comment on it I would say is that having had the presentation that we had in Scrutiny in the workshop, I don't think there was necessarily the full picture in the afternoon part. So maybe there wasn't the same quite, I wouldn't say balance because there was a lot of balance to it, but maybe we had a bit more balance to it in scrutiny, in our scrutiny workshop. But yeah, job well done. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Can I just come in there, please, Chair?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, while we're on the matter of community-focused schools, we've also had feedback from, at the conference rather, we've also had feedback from Keep Girls Tidy. They also complimented the work done by community-focused schools, teams in Merthyr Tydfil, and this has been shared across Wales. So thank you very much, Lisa.
Oh, Paul?
Just an observation. In view of the fact that we recently had a presentation then from heads of school who travelled to Florida and looked at the model over there, and the work which I believe was still continuing, there's no mention of this in the report at all as to something that might be developing then for the future. Is there a reason for that?
No, not really, because it was probably an omission on my part, because it is, but they are different models, because that's one cluster model. You know, the mid cluster may go in a different way, and the southern cluster may go in a different way. So what we say about enhancing the work that's being done, they, you know, whilst we're one borough and we're a small borough, they're still very there are different ways of taking this agenda forward.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
Are there any other comments? No, well, we've had a good discussion about this item. So the next item on the agenda is the Forward Work Programme. I should say, really, this is the last meeting of the cycle. The annual general meeting is the 14th. Oh yes, you can go. You can stop if you want, but yeah. Yes, the AGM is the 14th of May, where dates for the next cycle will be agreed. The Forward Work Programme for 25-26 will be presented in draft form at the first meeting for approval and reviewed at each meeting. The scrutiny cycle dates for 25-26 will be shared after the AGM on the 14th of May. Usually, though, we follow on what we've been doing usually. So has anyone got any comments about the Forward Work Programme? No. Oh, Claire?
Yeah, I think after today's meeting, I really would like this brought back up. It needs to go on the Forward Work Programme again as something that we need to address, and whether it's ourselves being still on the scrutiny panel or new members. You know, I feel as if I saw that report, and like you, Paul, I feel as if I was lulled into a false sense of security. And then when it came down to the bottom of it, I think there was a lot of questions, and I do believe that if we can get some of the answers and then at a later date be able to bring that forward, so we've got a better understanding as well, because I feel as if I don't feel as if that report now, as much as I appreciate the report being there, I feel that the data to go over the report was missing and it gave us incorrect information. So I would like that put back on, if you wouldn't mind, please.
There's a theme running through recent scrutinies where we've said that insufficient data has actually then been provided, and we've asked for that data. It begs to question then who then examines and approves then reports before they then come out, because we are going to continue, or at least I am going to continue to ask then for data, because if I am to continue then in this role as a scrutineer, I need that data to be able to say whether or not the authority is doing all they can then for every pupil then in the area. I felt misled by the tone of that report, because it clearly then highlighted how well the EAL pupils are doing, and good luck to them. That's great. It's just that when we drill down to it, the numbers that we're providing a service to of 21 at any given point in time are very different from the 951 that were quoted then in the report. So yes, I agree entirely with Claire. Thank you.
I'll have a word with Lisa and we'll discuss it at the first meeting of the next cycle then. That's probably the best bet. Michelle, I think, was next.
Yeah, I agree with what you were saying, and I'm not convinced that we've got enough support staff for these pupils, for 950 pupils, and literally we've got 7 or 8 in a day for 3 days a week. I just don't think that we're able to provide the support that they need. So I would like further information on that too. And I can see that by the time they get to Key Stage 4, they are doing really well, which is great to see. But I find that bizarre as well, how they're doing so much better than our English-speaking pupils. But yeah, I think we'd need to drill down a little bit more on that to understand, how they feel that they're able to support these pupils.
Thanks. I think Lawrence was next now. Can you hear me, Lawrence?
Yes, thank you, Chair. No, just to echo what everybody else has said, and as you say, yeah, I've got concerns similar to the others. Interestingly enough, I was in school not long ago, a couple of weeks ago, whatever, and I was surprised that, as I say, down in the lower part of the valley there, the number of children who need EAL, and I can't remember the context of it, but I remember somebody saying somehow there were 12 different languages being applied there. And I think it's similar to what Paul was alluding to earlier, how we can properly say we are supporting that variety of children. I bet there's far more than that, is open to question. Thank you, Chair.
Jeff was next.
Thank you. I just think that the whole point of today was for us to scrutinise a report. It proves that this scrutiny committee works. Yeah, because we drove down into the depths of the report. We didn't get that which we wanted, so we've gone back and asked for more. So when Sue comes to do her evaluation of this scrutiny committee, I think we do a very good job about that, so that this committee, as a general rule, is able to dive deeply into the subject being discussed. And even if it isn't in the report, we then find ways and means to ask for it to be brought forward. So I think the whole purpose of this scrutinising committee is actually well-founded, and we're able to do our job. So that's just a comment I'd like to make.
Yes. Natalie?
I just wanted to second everything else that has been said. We definitely need more data because the reports often give a positive perception of things, but the reality is there's a lot of budget constraints. We've got workforce challenges as well. Even with sort of teachers leaving the profession and struggling to get people back, to get new people into the profession. That's something I think that should be maybe reflected in the report a bit as well, because they're quite serious concerns, which we can question about it, but the reports do present things rather rosy when actually there's so many challenges in education. I kind of feel like I want to know what those challenges are, what the barriers are, the risks and those kinds of things, so that we can effectively scrutinise what we're told and to support the education directorate with those areas. And maybe it could be something for the AGM, because obviously that is for the year ahead. And maybe it could be some part of the AGM, kind of what data we can expect for the next year.
Yes, I'll have a word with Lisa. I'm assuming we'll all be the same people on the committees, but yes. The co-opted members will be the same. It's just whether the councillors are the same. Yeah. Oh, because they are altering the committee structure, the scrutiny structure next year. Lawrence, yes.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Just looking at the forward work programme. So, Jane, I wanted to thank you. You dropped me an email today regarding the, let's get the information in front of me, the potential, we talked about the ALN type workshop meeting coming up next year. And you mentioned that some decisions have been, or some proposals have been put in place. Would that be fully discussed at the first meeting of the next cycle, Jane?
Yes, we're going to discuss it further at our initial planning meetings, and then all members would be brought in when we're going through the forward plan for next year.
Okay, so all members will have an opportunity to obviously so give the points of view on that.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, so at the moment then, if I'd like to tell people what it is that's happened. You'll remember after the ALN meeting last time, we suggested some sort of workshop meeting, whatever. And what Jane kindly said to me was, right, if I read the words, then I get it right then. Lisa has asked me to let me know that following on from the request to hold a workshop with all ALN/head teachers, this was considered in a quarterly technical meeting with the director. It was agreed that rather than a workshop where all ALN/head teachers are invited, 1 or 2 scrutiny members are invited to attend an ALN meeting and then an alternative head teacher meeting, and then to hold a workshop where ALN and the feedback from the above meetings can be considered. So I just wanted to, I thought it was only fair to tell the other members of the scrutiny committee of what is being proposed, so you can have a think about that prior to that session, because personally it doesn't meet my needs. But as I say, it's up to everybody else to make their own considered thoughts on that. So thank you, Jane. Thank you, Chair.
Thanks for that, Lawrence. Are there any more comments about the forward work programme? No. Item 6 is scrutiny referrals. There haven't been any scrutiny referrals since the last meeting. Yes, well, Natalie did provide feedback on the community focused schools conference. Yeah. Oh, that's it. That's item 7. Yes, I think today we did do a good scrutiny, really. We did cover everything in depth, I think, really. So look forward to the next meeting with the EAL. As far as I know, I've no other urgent business. Does anyone else have any comments to make? No?
Me.
Oh, sorry, I can't see you down there, Claire. We ought to move you across a bit, really.
Why are you sitting next door to me normally? I would like to take this opportunity because obviously with there being the possibility of the restructuring and the possibility that I may no longer be on the scrutiny, I would like to thank everybody. You know, I've thoroughly enjoyed being on education. I love being around you all. I think you've got such the knowledge you've all got together is so beneficial, and I really hope that we are able to continue the scrutiny for education, because I do believe that we do give a valid point. We give a good debate, and I love the fact that co-optees are so, you're knowledgeable. It's wonderful. You know, I enjoy being around you all, and I would just like to say thank you, and I do hope that we can continue this once we come back.
Yes, education is going to be called the Aspirational Scrutiny Committee now. And the Bereavement Service, what committee is that within? The Wellbeing was the committee.
So I'd just like to thank you all, you know, and I do hope that I've still got the opportunity to be around you all in the capacity as a member of the council within the education scrutiny, so thank you. I was going to say security then, Clive, it was your fault. But yeah, thank you. So thank you all.
If there's nothing else, the meeting's closed. But you were right, I should have introduced everyone when they came in. Oh, it's not just me, no.